Marvelous Marvin Hagler was born on May 23, 1954, in Newark, New Jersey, a city marked by hardship, struggle, and survival. His birth name was Marvin Nathaniel Hagler, and his early life unfolded in an environment where violence, poverty, and uncertainty were part of everyday existence. When Marvin was still a young boy, racial tensions and economic decline shook Newark, eventually forcing his family to leave their home behind in search of safety and stability. They relocated to Brockton, Massachusetts, a gritty working-class city already known for producing fighters. Marvin grew up surrounded by struggle, but also by strength. His mother worked tirelessly to support the family, instilling in him the values of discipline and resilience. As a child, Marvin was quiet, observant, and physically strong for his age. He discovered boxing as a teenager at the Petronelli Boxing Gym in Brockton. The gym would soon become his second home, his refuge from the streets, and the foundation of his destiny. From the moment he began training, it was clear that Hagler was different. He was relentless, serious beyond his years, and completely consumed by the sport. While other young fighters trained for fun or recognition, Marvin trained for survival. Boxing was not just a hobby to him, it was his escape, his future, and eventually his identity. Hagler's amateur career was exceptional. He compiled a record of 55 wins and only one loss, establishing himself as one of the most feared amateurs in the country. His pressure, relentless conditioning, and fearless style broke opponents down mentally and physically. Despite his success, Hagler was never coddled by the system. He had no Olympic spotlight, no major promotional backing. When he turned professional in 1973, he did so without hype, without guarantees, and without protection. The early years of Marvin Hagler's professional career were among the hardest endured by any future champion. Promoters avoided him because he was dangerous and risky. He was forced to take fights on short notice, away from home, against experienced opponents. Many times, he accepted fights with little time to prepare and for minimal pay. He traveled across the country to unknown arenas, fighting men who had everything to gain and nothing to lose. Despite the obstacles, Hagler kept winning. He fought frequently, sometimes twice in a single month. Each victory added to his reputation as an avoided menace, a fighter too dangerous for contenders and too unknown for champions to risk facing. Still, opportunities refused to come easily. In 1976, Hagler faced Willie the Worm Monroe in Philadelphia. Monroe had twice beaten Hagler early in his career, exposing flaws in his awkward style. But the third time, Hagler adapted, learned, and dominated. He stopped Monroe, proving that he could grow, adjust, and overcome. It was an early sign of the elite intelligence that would define his reign as champion. Yet even after years of dominance, Hagler was still denied a title shot. Politics, promotion, and bias delayed his destiny. It was not until 1979, after nearly 6 years and dozens of fights, that he finally received his long-awaited world title opportunity. On November 30, 1979, Marvin Hagler faced Vito Antuofermo for the WBA and WBC middleweight championships at Caesars Palace in Las Vegas. The fight was a brutal contest. Hagler pressed the action relentlessly, landing the cleaner, more effective punches. Many observers believed Hagler clearly won. But when the judge's decision was announced, the fight was declared a draw. Antuofermo retained his titles. To Hagler, it felt like robbery. Years of struggle had led to a moment stolen by politics and corruption. The draw hardened Hagler permanently. Only 10 months later, Antuofermo lost his titles to Alan Minter, setting the stage for Hagler's second chance. On September 27, 1980, in London, Marvin Hagler fought Alan Minter for the middleweight championship. This time, Hagler left no doubt. He stopped Minter in the third round to become the undisputed middleweight champion of the world. As Hagler celebrated in the ring, a riot erupted in the stands. Bottles and objects were thrown. The hostility against the new American champion was intense. Security rushed Hagler out of the arena for his safety. But none of that mattered now. After years of being avoided and denied, Marvin Hagler was finally champion. And he would rule the division with an iron fist. From 1980 to 1987, Marvin Hagler reigned as one of the most dominant champions in boxing history. His title defenses were ruthless, systematic, and brutal. He did not seek fame, he sought destruction. His training camps became legendary. He trained in isolation, often in the cold wilderness of Provincetown, Massachusetts, cutting himself off from the world to focus entirely on the craft. Hagler's boxing style was unique and terrifying. He could switch stances effortlessly, moving between orthodox and southpaw with ease. His jab was sharp. His power was concussive. His stamina endless. But above all, his will was unbreakable. Opponents did not just fight Hagler, they were forced to survive him. Throughout his reign, Hagler systematically dismantled the elite of the middleweight division. Fighters such as Fulgencio Abelmejias, Mustafa Hamsho, Wilfred Scipion, Juan Domingo Roldan, and Roberto Durán all fell beneath his relentless pressure. Each defense strengthened his aura. Each victory deepened the fear surrounding his name. In 1983, Hagler faced one of the greatest lightweight and welterweight champions in history, Roberto Durán. Though Durán was smaller, his reputation was massive. The fight was historic. Hagler dominated Durán with superior size and pressure, stopping the legend in the first round. It was a shocking and symbolic victory, signaling that Hagler ruled not just his division, but the entire era. But one man continued to avoid him, Sugar Ray Leonard. For years, fans demanded a showdown between Hagler and Leonard. However, Leonard retired in 1982 after an eye injury, leaving Hagler to continue his reign without the rival that could define his legacy. Many critics claimed Hagler's era lacked superstar opponents. But Hagler could only fight those willing to face him. In 1985, Hagler faced perhaps his most violent test against Thomas the Hitman Hearns. The bout became immortalized as the war. From the opening bell, the fight exploded with intensity rarely seen in boxing history. Both men traded with ferocity. Hagler absorbed punishment and pressed forward without hesitation. After 3 blistering rounds, Hagler stopped Hearns. The fight lasted less than 8 minutes but entered boxing legend as one of the greatest battles ever witnessed. Following the Hearns War, Hagler's stature reached mythical levels. He was no longer just champion, he was a living force of destruction. Yet the elusive Sugar Ray Leonard still lingered as the final unanswered question. In 1987, after years of negotiations, delays, and public pressure, Sugar Ray Leonard finally returned from retirement to challenge Marvin Hagler for the middleweight crown. The fight became one of the most anticipated events in boxing history. On April 6, 1987, Hagler and Leonard met in the ring at Caesar's Palace. It was not just a fight for a title, it was a battle for legacy. Leonard used speed, movement, and quick bursts to score points, while Hagler pressed forward with aggression. The rounds were close. The strategy was complex. When the decision was announced, Sugar Ray Leonard was declared the winner by split decision. The verdict shocked the boxing world. Many believed Hagler had done enough to retain his title. Others praised Leonard's tactical brilliance. The controversy would last forever. But to Hagler, the decision felt like betrayal. He believed his life's work had been taken from him unfairly. Devastated and disillusioned by boxing politics, Marvin Hagler walked away from the sport immediately after the fight. He never returned to the ring. He retired with a professional record of 62 wins, 3 losses, 2 draws, and 52 knockouts. Hagler relocated to Italy, where he found peace away from the injustices he felt had defined the end of his career. He transitioned into acting, appearing in movies such as Indio and other international films. He lived quietly, far from the spotlight that had once surrounded him. Despite the bitterness over his final fight, Hagler's legacy only grew stronger with time. Historians began to re-evaluate the depth of his dominance, the difficulty of his defenses, and the consistency of his reign. He was inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame in 1993, his status as an all-time great officially sealed. What truly separates Marvin Hagler from many champions is not just his victories, but his mindset. He believed deeply in sacrifice. He trained harder than anyone. He rejected luxury and comfort for discipline and isolation. He lived as a warrior in every sense of the word. Fighters feared him not only because of his power, but because of his refusal to break. He did not show pain. He did not show fear. Once he entered the ring, he advanced with the certainty of someone who believed destiny itself was on his side. Outside the ring, however, Hagler was a respectful, intelligent, and thoughtful man. He loved history, strategy, and international culture. He valued loyalty deeply and held grudges just as strongly. He never forgave easily, but he also never betrayed his principles. On March 13, 2021, the boxing world was shaken by the sudden passing of marvelous Marvin Hagler. He was 66 years old. Tributes poured in from across the globe. Fighters, champions, historians, and fans united in honoring a man whose heart, power, and integrity had defined an era. Today, Marvin Hagler is remembered as one of the greatest middleweights of all time. His name stands alongside legends such as Sugar Ray Robinson, Carlos Monzon, Bernard Hopkins, and Sugar Ray Leonard. But his path to greatness was unlike any of theirs. He was never favored by politics. He was never protected by promoters. He earned everything the hardest way possible, through relentless combat and unshakable belief.